Hey, it's Sean with Price and Price Realtors. I've got a lot of buyers that are, obviously we have a strong seller's market right now. So obviously people are paying at ask or above ask for their properties. And so this is causing some stress for buyers feeling like they're paying too much money for their property. And what if the market drops? So I wanted to give you a historical perspective of what's happened in the Northern Virginia market over the last 45 years so that buyers can really take this into account when they're making their buying decisions. Now, this is not from an investment perspective. I'll do an entirely different video on how to look at this from an investment perspective. But this is more about the time frame that you plan on living in the house. Okay, so that's the key factor that you want to think about in this video. So this is the last 45 years of the Northern Virginia market. Now, it's important to understand that in the Northern Virginia market, this is not like the rest of the country. So when you're listening to the news and when you're hearing, news of what's about to happen nationwide in the market, you cannot apply that to our area because we have a very specific area. We have strong government employment, we have high net worth, we have a lot of tech businesses here, a lot of different businesses here that make this kind of a protected bubble. So it doesn't really follow what happens with the national trends. It's almost like if someone said, um, it's raining, across the country today, it's going to rain. Well, that doesn't mean it's going to rain where we are because, that it's a completely different weather pattern. So you have to look at your market, your real estate market as a local area. So this is local to Northern Virginia. These statistics are pulled from the Bright MLS. So this is where we get all of our home values and all the statistics that we use in our market reports. So you can see in general, you've had an uptick for the last 45 years in Northern Virginia. In fact, when I was putting these statistics in, we've only had a couple different areas, probably like 5 or 6 different times, where we've had plots where um, property values actually dropped. The rest of the time, it's been a slow, gradual increase, 1%, 2%. At some times, it's gotten as high as 6, 7, 8, 9%. Over here, we had an 8 or 9% increase over the last 12 months for 2020. So in general, there has been an uptick and an uptrend. So what does that mean? Well, that means that if you're buying a property, um, whether it's for personal use or it's, let's say, a buy and hold rental investment, um, if you intend to hold that property for more than 3 to 5 years, then you're typically going to be okay. So let's look, for example, here. Okay, let's say you bought at this high point, and then there was a drop between 89 and 90. Well, if you sold during the drop of 89 and 90, you might feel like you made a bad decision because you either broke even or lost a little bit of money. There was no appreciation. But look what happened between 90 and 91. Back up to appreciation, and then we had just slow, steady appreciation. So if you bought here and you had a drop, that could feel like a failure if you sold in that spot. But if you held on to it longer, you get over here and you look like a genius because you have a property that is appreciated. You've had debt pay down, so you've got money saved up in that property. Same thing here, another drop. Okay, there's a drop. What if you bought right here? Well, if you sold in that time frame where it was dropping, then you might feel like you made a bad decision and lost money. But again, the market recovered. Okay, now let's look over here. This is 2005 to 2010. Right, this is the area where we had the Great Recession. So what if you purchased right here? What if you bought at the very peak of the market? Okay, and let's say you sold within 2 to 3 years. Okay, so you would break even. You have a little bit of equity saved in there because you were making your payments, unless you got those interest-only loans. But you have a little bit of equity in here. But then the market did take a hit. Okay, and the market did drop. Now, when the market was dropping, if you sold anywhere in this point, then you're going to feel like you lost money. And this is where a lot of people panicked and they did that. They didn't look at their emotional or their real estate holdings with logical thought processes. They looked at it from a perspective of, oh my God, the sky is falling. I've got to get out of this property. So people started losing money in this market. If, however, they had just held on, you can see it took a little bit longer, but over a period of, it's 2005 was the peak, the drop started in 2007, 2008. By the time you got over here to 2011, oops, let me click that. By the time you get over here about 2011, 2012, 13, you were back to break even. Okay, so if you held it for 6 years, which is a long time compared to most markets, this was a huge recession. But if you only held onto that property for 6 years, then you would have been a genius again because you would have gotten back into appreciation. The people that bought at the top of the market right here and are selling right here are making a ton of money, okay? Because they have significant appreciation. They're the sellers in the seller's market, and they are getting a huge return on their investment, even though they bought at the peak of a market right before a recession. So what does this mean? This means that if you know before you're going in to buy this property that you're only going to hold the property for 2 to 3 years, okay, or 1 to 2 years or something like that, then you may want to consider holding off because you need to have, if you want safety in real estate, you have to have a long-term ability to hold a property. So if you plan on selling the house or flipping it or something like that, then you really have to take into account the positioning and the price that you're paying, just in case the market does flatten or the market does move. But if you plan on staying on the property for more than 3 years, now I know that this was a 6 year time frame here, um, but we don't expect, if there is ever a correction, we expect it to be more like this, just kind of a flattening out. It's not going to be that huge drop because the structure of what the real estate market is after this recession. There were laws that were put into place so that we don't have these declining home values. Everybody does have equity in their properties, so we don't expect a huge amount of foreclosures, especially in this area. Now, side note, there is a lot of news about all of the forbearances from COVID that could really flood the market with foreclosures, and that could happen. But again, it's not in this market. We have not slowed down at all, and even though there are people that are in forbearance in this market here locally, it is not as uh, common as you would see it throughout the country. So again, that goes into, you've really got to focus on your area, not necessarily the national average. So we don't expect a whole lot of foreclosures to come on the market to force these prices down. So the general premise of this and the general idea is, if you're buying a property and you plan on being in it for at least 3 years, you're going to be just fine. So what does that mean as far as like in the market today? What that means in the market today is when you're out there and you're looking at a property and you find a property you really like, and let's say they're asking 500,000 for the property, and the bidding starts going up to 550, 560, 570,000, and you still want the property for all the reasons that you love it and so on and so forth, then you can feel comfortable in the fact that you can pay that price for it because over time you will get the appreciation. I mean, it's showing it right here. There is appreciation even after big drops. The market does recover. So it's just a matter of how long you need to stay in the property. So if you're going to be in the property 3 to 5 years, you don't have to worry about the price you're paying. And in this market right now, there are people that bought back in 2019 that they can actually sell their properties for a huge profit. So let's say you bought in 2019 where the average home price was 614,000. In 1 year, up to 2020, that went up to 670,000. Look at that. In 1 year, that's a $56,000 appreciation. That's an 8 to 9% appreciation. So somebody who bought their house right here, and then all of a sudden they got transferred, or all of a sudden they decided they wanted to move, they've got a huge appreciation, and they can do that because they have equity. What if you bought back here 2018, 590 to 670? That's an $80,000 appreciation. Okay, so you can see that right now, even if you pay a little bit more, 6 months to a year down the road, you're going to be a genius. So again, the general idea here, as long as you buy and you are going to be in the property for 3 to 5 years, you're going to be fine. If you're going to be in the property for 5 to 10 years, you're going to be golden. Okay, I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions about this, please let me know. I'd be happy to clarify with you. And be sure to keep an eye out for our weekly market report so you can see what exactly is happening in the market. And then I'm also going to shoot an investor series so that we can take these statistics and take them into how to actually analyze an investment property and make wise decisions with that. Okay, have a great day, and we'll see you on our next video.